Alright guys, RoKage here and welcome back to the brand new video. Here we are, DC Dark Legion will be the topic. On today's video, multiple topics. So first of all, we have an official reveal for the brand new champion. We had already an official teaser and we already knew it's DONNA Troy. But here now we have a little bit more details about the character that we're gonna go through. After that, we're gonna go in community news because the dev Q&A responses are finally here. So we're gonna check it out together. We're gonna read this part and yeah, we're gonna see what are the answers from the developers. I'm super excited to see that. Let me first start with this. So DONNA Troy joins the fight. Born of magic and raised by Amazon warriors, she carries the strength of her sisters and the will to protect those beside her. Experience the Amazon warriors' might in the upcoming event. So here is the art, here is the actual model of a character. DONNA Troy looks incredible. So first of all, what we can conclude that she'll be a warrior type. Probably a DPS character like I said, but this part right here, the will to protect those beside her, she might be a DPS character, but as well will help you with some survivability. We're gonna see precisely when she drops. I'll do review and everything else, and then we're gonna know more. That's pretty much it, what we can conclude for now. Okay, let me now go to community news. So Super Helen posted, the fall 2025 DC Dark Legion Dev Q&A responses are finally here. Check out their feedback to read thoughts on champion design, endgame plans, and more from our producer David Do. Since the channel is read only, I also open a discussion thread here in case you want to respond to discuss or ask follow-up questions about something in Q&A. That's fair enough. Thanks for your patience, everyone. I know it's a long process from collecting the questions to publishing the answers, especially because we were out of office for the first week of October. So until next Q&A, please remember I also have weekly meetings with dev team about your feedback posted in feedback suggestions and respond monthly via our monthly newsletter. Okay, so let's check this out now. Okay, let's go from the start. You asked, we answered. Question 1. We know DC Dark Legion draws most of its inspiration from Dark Knight's Metal comic, but the DC universe is so vast. How do you decide which champions and factions to release next? How does the choice between introducing new factions versus building out existing ones factor into decision? Great question. The vastness of DC universe is a blessing, but also a challenge when picking the next champion or faction. We plan roughly 10 champions ahead, balancing. DC superheroes and DC supervillains keep the split roughly even. Team tags, diversity roster and filling gaps. Recognition, mixing characters new and hardcore fans know. Fun, surprising you with unique picks like Crypto. For factions, awareness is key. We prioritize instantly recognizable groups like the Justice League first, then within those factions, we choose characters based on their strength and roles needed to round out the team, like adding Mera as a Justice League healer. Right now, we're focused on building out those existing factions rather than adding brand new ones. We feel we got a good selection already, and by filling them out more, we can create way more potential team combinations and choices. That means more battle variety and therefore more fun for you guys. That's not to say we definitely won't introduce new factions in short term, but when we do, we're super thoughtful about how those characters fit into existing roster. We know it takes time to build out a whole new faction team properly. Luckily, we're a live game, still early in our journey, just 6 months since global launch. We're looking forward to continuing to expand our roster for many years to come. With your support, we're hopeful we'll eventually feature everyone's favorites while still delivering surprises along the way. Fair enough. Question 2. Do you have plans to release mythic champions through methods other than the bleed more often? How about more ways to obtain mythic, especially limited mythic shards? For non-limited mythics, we already added several new methods to obtain them since global launch and will continue to do so. For example, we already added random mythic champion shards in the league train, rotating champion shards in daily login rewards, and more selection of shards in the Meta Brawl shop. We also sometimes feature them in events like we did with crypto. In fact, we got big plans along these lines coming up for Halloween. For limited mythics, our focus is still mainly on the bleed for now. But even so, we made improvements to long-term collection. We added a chance for limited mythic bonus shards on all of our regular mythic draws with a guarantee on your first 6. And we also established a fixed schedule for return banners. Crucially, that bonus shard guarantee resets every time a banner reruns, so you always have 100% guarantee to get bonus shards on your first 6 mythic draws on the returning limited mythic banner. Question 3. What is the process of developing a character? How do you determine their skills and class? How do you choose certain faction tags and synergy over others? When developing a new character, we always start with a deep dive into the comics. We research heavily and brainstorm tons of ideas. Then it's multiple rounds of discussion with our designers, writers, and partners at Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment and DC before we settle on a final design. Staying true to the lore is essential, but we also innovate where we can. The Superman family was a fun challenge. We didn't want the whole team feeling same. With super strength and laser eyes, we love to surprise you guys with fun new details like Connor's canned guitar, inspired by a comic panel where he's rocking out on an air guitar. When a character's lore fits multiple factions, choosing the right one is tough. Of course, we try to choose the most representative one, but we also weigh game mechanics. What role will this champion play in their team? Take Harley Quinn. We frequently ask why we choose her Birds of Prey tag over Arkham Most Wanted. Yeah, that's like the biggest question mark for me. Lore justified either, but gameplay-wise, Birds of Prey gave her more room to shine. We already designed her kit to include lifesteal, which fit perfectly with the BOP team buff. Still, she should have Arkham Most Wanted. That's my opinion. Question 4. How do you decide who gets a special legacy piece in the House of Secrets? Will you consider adding special legacy piece for more of the regular mythics like Batman? When deciding who gets a House of Secrets legacy piece, we prioritize champion rarity first. All limited mythic champions gets one. For other champions, we listen to community feedback. The Green Lantern legacy piece, for example, happened because players asked. If you can do the same for Batman, I would be satisfied. As for universal legacy pieces, we're open to considering them if the community wants them. That said, we need to carefully evaluate how new pieces affect cultivation balance. Recently, we got a lot of feedback that universal pieces were too difficult to cultivate, so right now we've been focused on fixing that by adding more places to obtain mythic legacy piece supply. So if you have specific characters you want to see get a legacy piece or ideas about the universal ones, keep letting us know. Question 5. Can we expect more champion or faction rebalancing in the future? How do you decide if a champion or faction needs rebalancing? All live games need balanced tweaks sometimes. We truly test every champion before launch, but we simply can't match the ingenuity of our players at scale. You guys discover strategies and comps we never considered, which can reveal a champion or faction performing in ways we never anticipated. We never take rebalancing lightly. Sticking to our core principle is crucial. Every champion and faction must have their place to shine. They should have their clear strengths and weaknesses. That's what makes experimenting with new combinations fun. No champion should be meta everywhere, but each should excel in specific modes, teams, or as a counter. Well, is this exactly working? Well, sometimes. So if feedback shows a champion isn't used in any mode or it's constantly replaced in teams, then that immediately flags them for review and potential buffs. Conversely, if players report a champion seems too strong, but we see they're dominating only in modes and matchups they're designed to excel in, we like to conclude they're working as intended. On that note, we always try to avoid nerfing. If we do think a champion seems too strong, usually because they're excelling in a role we didn't intend them for, we'll prioritize buffing the opposition rather than nerfing that champion. 100% I agree. The exception is bug fixes, like incorrectly configured stats or skills triggering too often. This is actually just repairing effects we never intended, but it can feel like a nerf. To minimize the negative impact on our players as much as possible, we created a special Multiversal Force refund item specifically for these cases. Number 6. What do your plans for the end game look like? How do you envision our daily gameplay? Will there be more base shelter vehicle upgrades, more leak tech, more story, more bosses, and training simulator levels? Very timely question, as our endgame is just starting to take shape. Our overall vision is that the endgame should be defined by PvP faction and action and progression. Daily, that's bite-sized PvP like League Train, raids, and meta brawl. Weekly, that's larger tournaments or League versus League events like 3 vs 3, Guardian Challenge, Great Krypton Rush, Battle for Gotham, and most recently Ultimate Battle for Gotham. The last couple months, the majority of our dev focus has been on implementing these modes. We still plan to make consistent improvements to make them easier to understand, organize, and join. Most recently, we started working on a popular request, a new asynchronous League versus League mode, meaning all members can contribute regardless of time zone. The endgame loop is that this system provides rewarding loot, which goes into progressive upgrades and unlocks, leading to more powerful and challenging matchups. Of course, we also keep adding new story maps, combat cycle bosses, training simulator teams, and vehicles. However, this requires a cycle of new content, competition, waiting for more. The real potential for infinite gameplay lies in player interaction within PvP modes. Then in the midst of this daily and weekly gameplay loops, you'll constantly level up your champions after each round of Battle for Gotham, gradually perfect your transmutes, and invest your chips and drones into major new technology system we've recently started developing. Question 7. How do you determine gameplay rewards? How many questions? 10, right? Okay. Designing balanced yet valuable rewards is very complex. We follow these core principles. Multiple layers sustain various engagement levels. Incentivize meaningful league, not just yourself. Participation reward players who show up and contribute. Performance ranking recognize individual excellence. Leadership for specific events. Allow leaders to allocate some rewards. If feedback says an event rewards feel too low, we try to diagnose based on these principles. We ask ourselves questions like, are players feeling under-rewarded for their effort? Is individual contribution not being recognized? And so on. But crucially, events must be fun. Rewards should be a bonus, not the main reason to play. If we get consistent reward complaints after addressing the principles above, we consider redesigning or simplifying the event itself. Question 8. What are the top 3 things we can look forward to in the upcoming updates? Okay, now this is the juicy question. This is what I like to see. We have so much coming, but these are the top 3 things I'm looking forward to. New asynchronous League versus League event, Halloween event with new gameplay and 2 new champions. I'm heavily looking forward to this. And further improvements to Guardian Challenge, Gotham, and Great Krypton Rush. Then we have question 9. Who is your favorite in-game character and why? It may sound silly, but Gatling Gal and the Jokers. Think about what she represents. An ordinary nobody with no superpowers, living in a world filled with DC champions. Without the Dark Legion invasion, she's still nobody. Now, she is fighting alongside Batman and Superman. Beyond her wildest dreams, she is cherishing this chance, giving it her all beside DC superheroes and DC supervillains, making her fragile and ordinary life profoundly significant. That's what DC Dark Legion feels like to me. An ordinary guy cherishing my chance to achieve something great alongside our superstar community. And now we have the final question. When are we getting a Bat Cow? Bro, this is so epic, and I hope the Bat Cow will be in the game, bro. Look at the Crypto and Bat Cow, for example. Isn't this fantastic? Isn't this crazy? That would be such a great addition to DC Dark Legion. As by everyone, huh? We've been genuinely surprised but delighted by the community's enthusiasm for this animal. For now, all I will say is, I did tell you we like surprises, bro. With all of this, the biggest hype for me is that this pretty much confirms that Bat Cow will drop in the game. This sentence generally confirms that. It is just a matter of question when it's gonna happen. Okay guys, so this is pretty much questions and answers from the developers. I appreciate all the answers. We learned a lot. I'm super hyped for the upcoming content and the future for this game. And yeah, I cannot wait. Please tell me your opinions in the comment section below about all of this. I would really like to hear it. Thank you for all support. Love ya and bye.